Today we're gonna go over 5 pieces of gear that I would personally purchase again. Now there's 5 pieces of gear in this video with a bonus item, if you wait till the end, of items that work for me and my vehicle and when I'm out on the trail or camping that may not work for you, but things that happened in my past that allow me to use these pieces of gear to help me out in ways where if I got stuck or needed to get home. And so we're gonna just jump into number 1. The first piece of gear that I would purchase again is my Stihl Chainsaw.
Do you want to see my new chainsaw and hockey mask?
Now I have a 20-inch and a 24-inch bar, and it's kind of overkill for most of the people out there, but it works for me and I've used it a handful of times since I've had it, based off of that one time I got stuck in the middle of Leavenworth area where the trees were 5 to 6 foot in diameter and I needed something big to get out. Unfortunately, I did not have that. I needed the county roads and also the rangers to come out and help me out to get out of that situation. Thank them and their families for allowing them to help us out when we got out of there. That happened a couple years back. I do have a video that I'll link in the description below based off of that if you want to see that outing. Now, you don't need a chainsaw at all. A regular saw is suffice. I carry a small pruning saw, which is a 6-inch Milwaukee electric battery powered saw for small things when I do need to cut things. And then I have my big chainsaw. I do like the fact that you should have something that's not battery or gas operated, that's just like a regular hand saw, or you could go ahead and use something like an axe. So an axe for me is what I keep for my non-battery or gas-powered device to cut fallen trees or cut firewood. The second gear that I would purchase again is my Garmin inReach Mini. I use that every single time I go out, especially if I'm by myself. It's just a good way to be able to text my girlfriend when I am out and there's no service, because it allows you to have 3 preset text messages, which mine is going out on the trail, checking in / at camp, and heading back out. It sends my GPS coordinates back to her, so just in case I don't check in with her or it is past the time I'm supposed to be back, there's somebody that does know my last whereabouts. The third item that I recommend is Ratchet Straps. The reason why I personally will buy more ratchet straps than I ever do need is not only that as a help deter theft and wrap my jerry cans for my diesel fuel and my regular fuel that I keep in the back of my car, it also allows me to do certain things, like for instance, the iCamper rooftop tents are phenomenal tents. I have the 2.0. The only flaw that I can see with that tent is if you are in a windy area and the wind is picking up, it picks up the area where there's a ladder, and all night you'll hear a ka-tunk, ka-tunk, ka-tunk. Basically, the wind will pick up the bottom of the ladder area about an inch and drop it back down. Now, hearing that all night, you will not be able to sleep unless you have a person laying on that area. But we use that spot for our feet. So what I do is I take the little eyelet holes on both sides and put the hook through there and ratchet strap the front and rear tire of my car. And that allows no wind to pull up the tent itself. So that's just an extra way of me using ratchet strap. Do not use a ratchet strap for recovery at all. It's extremely dangerous. This is more to just wrap things down and keep things tidy. Now, the next piece of gear that I always tell everybody when they're looking for recovery gear is I never recommend traction boards. They end up being just decorations like you would see an ornament on a Christmas tree. It really mainly just sits on your car and you don't use them. Now, I've used my traction boards probably about a good 5 times since I've had them, and for recovery. Outside of that, I mainly use it to level my vehicle, so that way when I sleep in my rooftop tent, I'm level. I never recommend traction boards to anybody. It does have its place, and I've seen them work. I just used them this past weekend to get Josh's 200 series out of the snow. We needed his 2 sets on top of mine, so we had all 4, and he was locked up and he still got out. But the gear I'd recommend is a shovel. Now, there's all different types of shovel. They're not all equal. Some have pros and cons. I have an ice shovel for when I got stuck and high centered on the snow. There's a couple videos back that I have that I invested in an ice shovel. Now, the shovel I would recommend and would purchase again is a regular Fisker full metal shovel. The worst thing that can happen is if you have one of those with the wood handle and you go to try and get yourself out or dig, you'll snap the wood. The Fisker metal, it's extremely difficult to break. It's very inexpensive. You want the full size shovel, and the reason behind that is if you have the smaller shovel and you're actually trying to dig anything out, whether it's dirt, mud, snow, sand, you name it, your back's gonna kill you using the smaller shovel. If you have a full-size shovel, it's a lot easier to get through. Also, if ice starts to build under your car, it's easy to actually reach all the way through. With the smaller shovel, you're not going to work that way. My ice shovel is smaller and compact. That stays in my car indefinitely because it's better to have something than nothing if I just decide to go off on the beaten path. But if I know I'm going out somewhere and doing something, I will bring the Fisker full-size shovel for that. Item number 5 would be my Morrflate air up, air down tubes. I don't know the exact name for them, but it does help out where I can hook up to all 4 tires and air down to, 10 PSI very easily and quickly like that. Or when I need to air up, I can connect it to my compressor and air up all 4 tires to the same PSI when I get back on, paved road. I use that more than any type of equipment because of the fact that every time you're getting off the pavement and about to go off-road, you air down. My recommendations, usually I go about 18 to 20 PSI. For dirt, gravel road, it just makes it less bumpy. When I go down to snow, mud, I'll drop down to 10 PSI. If you have beadlock type wheels, you can go a lot lower to 0 to 5 PSI, but I do not have that, so 10 is the lowest that I recommend when you do not have those type of rims and you're sticking with OEM. Now, having a good set of tires is key when you're going out and going out with more than one person. So I never recommend just getting out there by themselves, especially doing trails that you've never been to before, just because having an extra buddy, even if they're in the car with you, it makes life better and easier to be there. And at least if you have 2 vehicles going in and one does get stuck, you can still get home for the night. You can leave the vehicle, you can't leave the person. And I have a bonus item. My bonus item would be a soft shackle or D-ring, either or. They both have their pros and cons. I'm not gonna really go over it in this video, but there's a lot of videos out there that tell you the differences between the two. It's better to have one than none. So make sure if you have a hard shackle to have a point that you can hook up to. With the soft shackle or hard shackle with a kinetic rope, you can get out there. If you don't have a winch, you can tie up to another vehicle. Do not tie anything to a ball hitch receiver. I see many people do this and it is extremely dangerous and you could kill somebody or get seriously injured. So make sure never to hook up to something like that. And right when you thought we were done with the video, I got an extra bonus for you. So the extra bonus that I would say is my favorite stakes and hammer. Basically, if you need to stake something down like your awning walls or a tent if you're on a ground tent, Walmart has the best heavy duty stakes out of anywhere. They're big and heavy duty. They pretty much go through anything. You don't have to worry about them bending or snapping. Every other brand out there should take notice of what Walmart is using and making. I highly recommend using their product as far as if you need stakes. Anytime I purchase any type of tent or awning wall, it always comes with these metal flimsy pins that go into the ground, and I always replace them with the ones from Walmart. They're just better. They last forever. You can hook up to them because they have a little OLED, and that's the one that I would recommend. And the one thing is, if you do get that particular piece of equipment, you are gonna need to have a hammer that has a bigger opening to get it out of the ground. Don't make that mistake when you hammer it in and you have just a regular hammer or just a normal pry bar, it's not big enough to get under it to pull it out, and you don't want to leave anything behind. So invest in one of those bigger hammers with the outlet. I will link all the equipment below so you can see what I'm recommending on here. Let me know if there's items I didn't go over that you would purchase again or you would recommend. Let me know. I'm always open to add more items in my vehicle and just make my life a lot better when I am out there. If I can make things smoother or easier when I'm out on the trail, or camping, that's the best for me. So let me know in the comments below. If you learned anything new, if you want to discuss stuff, if you enjoyed the video and you stayed to the end, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe, and comment something below. I love to interact with my community. But until then,